Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We have another CONMEBOL video for you here today. We've been pumping out a lot of South American videos lately, so if that's the part of the footballing world that you are most interested in, make sure you subscribe. Got some big collabs on the way. I don't want to say anything about that now, but I think you guys will enjoy. In this video, I'm going to be nominating some CONMEBOL players who I believe will have a breakout season this year. My definition of a breakout season would be an improvement in minutes, individual performance, significance to the team, individual accolades, or some combination of those four. You guys in the comments, let me know your #1 nomination for a breakout player from CONMEBOL this year. We'll see which gets the most upvotes. I'm curious what the streets are saying. I'm going to start with a very risky nomination. If you guys watch Lengua de la Liga, you probably know who this is. If you're Colombian, you probably know who this is. Yaser Asprilla from Girona. I was told many times it's not Girona, it's Girona. So last season, Girona fell off a cliff. 2 years ago, they were in the Champions League. They were 1 point safe of relegation last year. Yaser Asprilla was one of the reinforcements to Girona to kind of help the squad with all their departures after qualifying for the Champions League, and he had 4 goal involvements in the league last year. It was really underwhelming. It's obvious that his ceiling is extremely high, but even fans of Girona, fans of La Liga, were disappointed in how Asprilla played last year. So this upcoming season, in which Girona have once again done nothing in the transfer market outside of a couple loans for Thomas Lemar and Vitor Reis, it is up to Asprilla to carry Girona to safety, relevance, moments of bliss, relative happiness. I mean, everything is going to be resting on his shoulders. Last year was the old veteran Uruguayan striker Stuani who kind of saved Girona, and I don't think that's going to happen again, but this is a risky nomination. Asprilla will be the starter. Asprilla will get, if he stays healthy, minimum 30 league games and a couple games in the cup. If the rumors are true about Miguel Gutierrez also leaving to join Napoli, then Asprilla is probably a top 3 player on this team. And unless he has like 14 goal involvements in the league, I think Girona are going to get relegated. I'm going to put my neck out here again. This is a very risky of the nominations that I have here. I wanted to start spicy to have a breakout season. Moving on, let's cool off a little bit with this next one. This one is interesting because some people will argue that he's already broken out, but I don't think that's true. Richard Rios from Benfica and Colombia. So we got 2 Colombians to start this video. I did not intend for that to be this way. Look, Richard Rios and his profile has exploded since 2023. If you're from CONMEBOL, if you're from South America, if you're interested in Brazilian football, Libertadores, anything like that, you already know who Richard Rios is because of his performances for Palmeiras. You probably saw him at the Club World Cup, which, again, you know what? This is my video. I would kind of say that swings a little bit into this season. That's how I would decide to classify that. It's like the genesis of his breakout was the Club World Cup for the world, right? Because as I'm alluding to, South Americans already know who he is. If you're from CONCACAF, if you're from North America, and you don't know who Richard Rios is, that's kind of embarrassing because that tells me you didn't watch the Copa America. And if you're from the United States or Mexico and you're not watching the Copa America, you're a fraud. By joining Benfica, it will expose him to the Asian, African, and European audience for the first time in a large magnitude, especially in those European football games. And maybe some Europeans have seen his highlight reels, maybe some saw him at the Club World Cup, but it's not going to be like the level of exposure he's going to get now. I'm not really expecting an explosion in individual stats or individual output because Richard Rios isn't a Cam. This is not a Lucas Paquetá. He's not an Alexis McAllister mold. He's much closer to like a Bruno Guimaraes, Enzo Fernandez hybrid, if you want to say. I do think it's possible that he finishes with 6 goals, 4 assists for Benfica this season in the league and then gets a couple other goal involvements in Europe. That would be a good season. Where I do think he's going to get the blow up in the breakout season is going to be how people recognize his talent immediately. And we know Benfica, they're a selling club. I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the season, Manchester United are on the phone offering 80 mil. So I think in 2024, you would say Richard Rios became a regional star. I think 2025 is the year that he goes global. The next player I want to talk about is actually a product of the jersey and the club that I'm repping right now, Independiente de Valle in Ecuador, and that is Joel Ordonez. I think Ordonez is destined to be a beast. For me, it's more of a question of when does it happen? Maybe 2025 will be too soon. It kind of depends on where he ends up. Because he's at Club Brugge right now, but we have Liverpool, Marseille, and probably some other clubs fighting for his signature. Regardless of where he goes, maybe he stays at Brugge, I don't know. You could make the argument, I'm not saying I'm saying this, but there's an argument for Joel Ordonez to be the most hyped center back prospect from South America America right now. His main competition would be Vitor Reis from Manchester City, Lucas Beraldo, who's at PSG, played a couple games for them last season, and Murillo, also Brazilian, with Nottingham Forest. What I think might help him a little bit is the fact that Ecuadorian CBs are some of the hottest commodities in Europe right now. Thanks to players like Nkambie and Leverkusen being part of the Invincible season, William Pacho winning everything with PSG last year, it's a great time to be an Ecuadorian defender. Now, at Club Brugge, his deal doesn't expire until 2028, but like I said, there are already people who are looking to purchase him this summer, and I want to be very clear here. Ordonez is a raw prospect. He is not William Pacho level. He is William Pacho, but like 2 years ago. And you can kind of see that in his numbers. If you look at how he's performed in the league, there's a couple metrics when you compare him versus William Pacho. Ordonez conceded 4 penalties in his last 2 seasons in Belgium. That's some of the worst of all CBs in the league. If you look at expected goals in the last 2 seasons, he has a .88 expected GA. William Pacho's at 1.6, so literally doubling that. He's got 7 successful dribbles in the last 2 seasons. William Pacho has 14, so again, doubling that. How many times has he been dispossessed? 17. William Pacho's been dispossessed about half that at 11. So this is like when you're in the NBA or NFL draft and you're taking the guy who's like a freak athlete. It looks like it could be the scariest defensive end in the league in 4 years. Or like drafting Giannis Antetokounmpo in basketball. I'm basically saying Ordonez could be Giannis Antetokounmpo in terms of center backs, which is kind of why the Liverpool transfer scares me a little bit, because he is not ready to play for Liverpool. He could be in 2 years. I just don't know how much time he's going to get. Maybe if he gets bought now and he just learns under Van Dijk for 2 seasons, that could be insane. And what a transfer for Ecuadorian football. I would just be a little bit nervous. Fun fact, Ordonez is the most valuable player, according to Transfermarkt, in the entire Jupiler Pro League at 28 million. I think Marseille would be a great destination for him. I mean, the back 3 potentially of Medina, Balerdi, and Ordonez is freaking disgusting. Or maybe he could be in a back 2 partnership. But I still think, like I said, going to Liverpool would be a great opportunity. Just don't expect him to break out this season. If he goes to Liverpool, he's not breaking out in 2025. He's probably breaking out in 26, 27. The next player I think is going to have a breakout season is Matias Soule, 22-year-old right winger from Argentina and Roma. He was playing with the Juventus U teams for a while, but never really broke into the senior squad. He's originally a Vélez Sarsfield product, and then somehow got a $25 million move to Roma last year, which I feel like that's a crazy sale from Juventus, given the fact that he was not proven at all in the Italian top flight. But whatever, he goes to Roma, kind of is a fringe player in the first half of the season, but in the second half of the season, when Roma go on that unbeaten run and eventually push and qualify for European football, he was one of their better players. In the final 13 games of the Serie A season, he started all of them for Roma and scored 4 goals and had 5 assists during that stretch. In those 13 games, Roma's record was 10 wins, 2 draws, and a single loss. Now he's going to get a full season next year, and I am very excited for how this looks. Last season, he led Roma in chances created, big chances created, assists, and was second on the team in successful dribbles. Again, being a bench guy until February, essentially. For the season, he was in the 85th percentile of all of Serie A for expected assists, despite having 22 games. My expectation for Soule next season is something like 12 goals, 7 assists. I feel like if he does that, he might have to be on the plane to the World Cup, which is crazy because he hasn't even debuted yet. Maybe he doesn't make the World Cup because it's just too much too soon, but everybody's going to know who Matias Soule is if he has that type of performance. The last player I want to nominate for having a breakout season from CONMEBOL is Santiago Mourinho from Villarreal in Uruguay. He's a 23-year-old center back. If you're a fan of Atletico Madrid, you know who he is because he was purchased by Atleti back in 2023, but never really played at all. And he was at Alaves on loan last season. Villarreal have now bought him for $10 million. And I think part of that is because his upside is insane. I thought he was good for Alaves last season, was one of their highest rated players, and also because Villarreal's starting CB, Logan Costa, tore his ACL, so he's probably out until late, or I should say early 2026. So even though that's horrible for Costa, and it absolutely sucks, this is a great opportunity for Mourinho, because this guy is a virtual unknown. I'm not even sure how many Uruguayans are hyped up about this guy. And initially, I was kind of surprised that Villarreal paid $10 million for him, but I think the reason for that is the upside. He's a very physically gifted defender. He's actually pretty good with the ball at his feet, but we're going to be seeing a new challenge here with Villarreal. Playing center back for Alaves and Villarreal are two different asks. He's going to be doing a lot more sprints and be involved in a lot more one-on-ones than he was with Alaves, who typically would like to sit back. And I don't think it's impossible he plays his way into the Uruguayan national team. I expect Mourinho and Rafa Marin, who's another new arrival, to be the starting CBs for Villarreal come match day 1. Now, look, it's up to him to perform, but if he takes this opportunity and balls out, he might become one of those, future sales from Villarreal. These guys are so good at this. They identify underrated talent. They're basically the Brighton of La Liga. They just don't buy as much from the old continent, or wait, Europe's the old continent, from the new continent, which I don't understand why their scouting department doesn't do that, but they will always sell you if you perform. So for Mourinho, this could be the start of something epic. And for the sake of Uruguay, he's got Champions League football potentially. Like, this could be huge. And Villarreal are in the Champions League this season, so he could go from Alaves out of the spotlight, nobody talking about him whatsoever, to European nights. That is huge. And y'all, we are done. That is my list. Those are my nominees for players who are going to have a breakout season from CONMEBOL. If I forgot anybody, let me know in the comments. If you guys want to see this series for other parts of the world, like Africa, CONCACAF, AFC, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one.